Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our last Craft Fridays session of the year. You can go ahead and pop into chat, say hello, let us know where you're zooming in from, and we'll wait just a couple of minutes before diving in and getting started. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. So first, just hello and welcome to our Spoonflower Craft Fridays 2023. My name is Jessie Katz-Greenberg. I'm the Artist Community Manager here at Spoonflower, and I'm so excited to welcome you to this, our final Craft Fridays session of the season, today with Alyson, who I will introduce in just a moment. So as you may know, or you may have realized, Craft Fridays looked a little different this year. In the past, we held this event all on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving here in the US, and packed multiple workshops into one day. And this year, we've really enjoyed bringing you 4 real-time live workshops where you can really settle in and get crafty with us with some super talented members of our creative community. I'm so happy to see that so many of you are back for your second or third or fourth Craft Fridays session. We're really excited to have you here and that you've been able to join us for so much time in the last few weeks. So today we'll be learning about block printing with Alyson Toone-Aguilar. We'll explore how to print using linoleum blocks and found objects. If you are not yet subscribed to Spoonflower emails, that is the best way to stay up to date on events like this at Spoonflower. Our Maker Community Manager, Alexa, is helping to moderate chat today, so she'll go ahead and drop a link in chat now so you can subscribe to our emails if you haven't already. And you also may have noticed that we can't see all of your lovely faces, but we definitely want to see all of your projects from this class. So to do that, please snap a photo of your work either during or after class and share it to Instagram and tag both Spoonflower and Alyson using the hashtag Spoonflower Craft Friday. And Alexa will go ahead and drop all of those details in chat as well. So you can tag Spoonflower just at Spoonflower, and Alyson is at make it work underscore crafts. Make it work underscore crafts. And finally, I'm thrilled to be joined by Alyson. While I give her intro, we'll go ahead and drop some links in chat so you can get to know her more as well. She's a Spoonflower artist, so we'll drop her shop so you can shop her designs on Spoonflower, as well as her website, and you can follow her on Instagram. So Alyson is, as I said, a Spoonflower artist, but also the founder of Make It Work Crafts, through which she teaches art and craft classes throughout the Los Angeles area. She specializes in textile crafts because of her background as a fashion designer, working as a designer for 10 years in New York City's Garment Center. Before moving to New York City, Alyson earned a bachelor's degree in fashion from Columbus College of Art and Design in her hometown of Columbus, Ohio. And she now resides in sunny California with her husband and daughter. So Alyson, thank you so much for joining us once again to share your creative talents with our community. We're so grateful to have you here. I will pop off camera and see you all in chat, and I will just come back on as I need to relay questions to you from chat during your workshop.
Thank you so much, Jessie, for that great intro. Hello, everyone. Just as Jessie said, I am Alyson Toone-Aguilar, the founder and teacher of Make It Work Crafts. Today we will be working on block printing. I'll talk about some of the block printing basics, some things you may want to know, answer any questions you may have. So definitely put questions in the chat. And we're just going to make a block together. So I hope that you have your materials, the block, your linoleum or your linoleum block, your die pad or ink pad, and your cutting materials. It could be wood cutting or a linoleum cutter. scissors, a ruler, paper, and a pencil, and things like that. So I think I got everything. And I'll also show you after the basics how to use just anything around the house that you may have. I hope some of you have brought things from around the house that might be good to print. So we'll get started. I'm going to show my hands and get to this workshop. Okay, so we have some of these blocks that I have created over the years. This is one that if you've ever seen my Spoonflower shop, it is familiar. It would be familiar to you. It became this print. I made a skirt out of it. But before I started to create it on Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, I decided to create this as a block. I like the way that it looks as a block, but I liked it more with in a vectorized form. But it was a lot of fun to play around with this in patterning. These blocks are just different blocks. I've also used this in one of my Spoonflower prints. Actually, the end product ended up being a little bit cleaned up through Photoshop, but still used. And then these, and all of these are using different types of block printing medium. So there's the linoleum block printing, or the linoleum block with the wood block. I personally like to use that because it's a lot easier to stamp and I can hold it. There's also this is probably more of the originals, what most people think of when they think of linoleum. It is just flat and thin, and it has the Hessian backing, which is what you call this, kind of hemp backing. And it creates something like this kind of piece of a stamp or a block. And so you can cut it into different shapes and things like that. And it's great for that versatility. The thing is, for me personally, I'm a very messy person. Raise your hand in the chat. Or if you're also a messy maker, I cannot keep my hands clean for anything. And I see some hands raised. Yeah. So I like to attach this to a wood block. So I have some wood blocks. I happen to live near a reuse nonprofit, a creative reuse nonprofit called Remainders. And they happen to have all these stamps and stamp blocks and things that I can buy a huge bag of that people have donated. So I have all of these blocks. It's amazing. But I'm sure you can find these at a craft store near you, or you can just use a child's toy block. We can also use toy blocks later. We'll talk about that later. So that's an option. It's just like attaching that to the block and making it. And then there's wood blocks that are made for carving. So I've used these. These are wonderful. They're a wonderful material. You definitely need to use wood cutters. If you really want to get into block cutting, wood cutters are the way to go. In general, even if you're using linoleum. And some of the other options that you have out there are like this nice pink speedy carve. There's also this one, I think it's called Easy Cut, which is like a different brand, but this is amazing. It's nice and thick, so your fingers won't get like too messy or like you won't get fingerprints all over your work. And you can also cut it with scissors and use all the same tools as any linoleum. Then this one's also a like kind of a similar thing. This is like a lower cost one, the white one. I'm not a fan. Just throwing that out there because I actually had like blocks that just like crumbled apart. So like if you're not you know, you're not going to use it forever and ever, then this will probably be great. I personally like to reuse my blocks because I never know. They're great for sketching. So my other tools are I have these wood cutting tools, which are a lot more, I would say, a little bit more intense than some of the ball ones that other people may have or are very easy to find in a craft store. I bought these so that I could use for wood blocks. And then, I mean, as far as linoleum goes, they cut like butter on linoleum. And I started with the speedball, one that you get at like any craft store. It's, it does its job. It hurt my hand after a while. So, I mean, if you, it's great for like a quick hobby, but if you're, want to do this longer term, definitely invest in like a really good set like this one. So, and I think I got this on Amazon, to be honest. So the other thing is the ink pads. So I have pigment ink pad and I have dye ink pads, and they do have a little bit of a difference. We'll see that later. And that brings me to block printing versus stamping. So I realize that most people think of this as stamps and like, you go into a craft store and you get a pre-made stamp and, it's the whole stamping area. And then anything like the linoleum and the linoleum cutters, those are going to be in a different aisle. And it's kind of separated as like one is considered fine, block printing is considered fine art, and stamping is considered kind of a craft. And in my world, those boxes don't exist. It's kind of all the same. I use all sorts of craft materials to make my fine art and all sorts of fine art materials to make my crafts. So I don't really care. Personally, I like to use these ink pads for sketching in my notebook. I shouldn't say sketching, like block printing or stamping in my notebook, because it's just cleaner. I was using block printing ink, and that's a lot messier. It entails a lot more, like you need a brayer, and you need somewhere to to load up the brayer. And so I am a mom with a toddler, and I get only so much time to make things. So I don't really have to want to go into the whole setting up of things and cleaning things up every time. I want to just sketch in my sketchbook. So I use these, and they are pretty easy to use. One thing that I didn't mention, but it is in your list, are baby wipes. Talking about cleanup and babies. Use unscented baby wipes. They're wonderful to clean up very quickly. Okay, so let's get started. So I have my block.
Alyson, while you're getting those supplies ready, I'm going to jump in with just a couple supply questions and comments that came up in chat. The first is, have you ever used erasers to carve and make stamps? I know pink eraser art has been sort of a trending project lately. We're curious if you've used erasers.
I haven't personally, but I can definitely see how people would use that, because they're basically the same material as the pink and the white easy carve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, all of that would seem to work for me.
Yeah. And then the other question that came in was, could you use a tool like a Dremel tool to cut wood or linoleum to make blocks?
I would use the Dremel maybe on the wood, but I don't think so for the linoleum. I don't think it's needed for the linoleum, because with the linoleum, you're not going to cut like different height variations, if that makes sense. It's just like one, like once it prints out, it all needs to be, your design needs to be the same depth and height.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks.
So I sketched out this this butterfly, and I am going to just transfer it. So I transfer a certain way, where I just take a pencil and color over it, the back of my sketch. This works really well for all sorts of projects too. Sketch. Normally you would tape this down, but I actually forgot my tape. So you would tape it on either side just so it doesn't slide around a lot. And then you can use a pencil, or you can use a like a nice stylus. This is just a skewer to go over your lines. Sometimes I like to do this with with the ballpoint pen, because then I know like what lines I went through. Any sort of pencil that you use should be like a softer pencil on the back so that it kind of covers the space and there's like kind of excess. So I'm just going over my lines. And definitely if this was a more complicated design, I would totally make sure that I have a ballpoint pen to do this so that I know what lines I went over and what I didn't. And it's okay if your lines are not perfect. In every one of my classes, the way that I teach is it's not about perfection. It's not about everybody's project looking the same. It is about like what makes you feel good. Do you? And we're all learning. So there we go. Here is my butterfly. So now that my butterfly is on my block, I'm going to use my tool. Oh, I see I didn't, this one didn't come all the way through. So I'm going to fix that. So I'm going to use my tool to start cutting. And I typically cut from the outside, but I don't think it really matters. And you're just going to go into your block like such. Just very simple. Small cuts over long cuts. Especially when you're going over something that's round. So to keep the shape, you would definitely go, small, nice and easy. You always want to cut away from you because you don't want this very sharp thing going towards your body. Safety first. I teach kids and we're always telling them safety first. So I'm going to try to get this as clean as possible. And I'm going to go for a slightly bigger tool. So there are different with the tools, like I have the smaller tool. They have different number names. I don't know the number names by heart. But each one they do something different. Like this one is shaped a bit like a V, and it does like a really cool deep cut. And if you bought the speedball one, it most likely has different ones that I think hide in the handle. And those are also helpful. And just a little tip that I've learned over the years, especially when I was in school. Oh, this one's better. This one's kind of more of a U shape. That the temperature matters, and also the age of your linoleum matters. So sometimes the linoleum is not, it's not new, and that makes a difference in like the way that you cut it. And when it's cold, I remember the first time that I ever did this, I was in grade school, and we were in the like school basement, and it was chilly, and we kept carving into this really hard linoleum, and I got a few cuts. And our teacher would come around and say, like, okay, well, I think it needs to be ironed. And, and then we'd go to the iron and like warm it up a little bit. Growing up in the 90s was a very different time. Let me say that. Are there any questions, Jessie? Like while I'm carving this out?
Yeah, we have one. Can you get fine details done with the wood carving tools? She says, my speedball has really narrow tips, and all the wood carving tools seem to have really wide tips.
Yeah, you can get really narrow ones. Actually, you know what? When I do find some fine things, I do go back to my speedball. So I still own it. And for that kind of thing, I definitely use it for it. But I think that there are like wood sets that are that have narrow tips.
Awesome. And then I know you talked about the shape of the tools a bit, and we did have someone ask which shape tool do you prefer? But I know you talked about the shapes a little bit. I don't know if you want to expand on any of them or if you just have a favorite for a certain use case or anything like that.
I would say like I usually go small. Definitely something like this for lines. Or if you have the speedball one, it is definitely smaller. If I'm doing a larger piece, I love these for sure. So like I've done like bigger linoleum pieces, some that were like bigger than a sheet of letter size paper. And this one, the V, is definitely like a lifesaver and a hand saver.
Awesome. We have a few fun comments that I want to bring to your attention with people relating to fun ways to warm up your materials. Someone, Nancy, is saying she's warmed up lino well with using a hair dryer before. And Leslie says she thinks she used to throw hers in the microwave sometimes, but she did give us a disclaimer that that is maybe not the best practice. Thank you, Leslie, for adding that in there. Do you have a favorite place to buy linoleum?
So I go to a place called Artists and Craftsmen that's near me, and I know they have some in other places in the country. They're a pretty cool art store because they're like employee owned and all of that. And I also go to Blick. I tend to just go to the art stores as opposed. Well, the craft stores really don't have very much block printing material. Yeah, just go to an art store.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Blick also for this kind of stuff. From Diana, how do you identify the parts that you want to remove on a more complicated pattern?
Okay, that's a good question. So I mean, a lot of this, it's about negative space versus positive space. And like for this particular design, I know I want my butterfly. I don't want there to be a background. Like for instance, if I were not to cut this part out, it would show up. It would get ink, as opposed to this side, it's not going to get any ink. So what others? So your positive of your final design, your positive space would be the butterfly, and this will be my negative space. On a more intricate design, I would say definitely block out like what you want. So say like, I would like color this in a little bit so that I know, okay, this is going to be my negative space. I'm going to cut this out. And just kind of give it that. But, it's up to you, like how you want something to be positive or negative.
Yeah, I think the tip to color it in so you know not to cut out those parts is really useful.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna take one question. Where did it go? We had a question about replays. I now don't see it in the chat, but I swear it was there. So, if you asked about replays, where can you watch the recording? We are going to be, now that this is our final Craft Friday session, we're going to get all of these replays up on our blog and on the Spoonflower YouTube. So if you missed here we go, Terry, I found you. So if you missed any of this session or any of our other sessions, we'll get those up on the Spoonflower YouTube channel and on our blog. And Terry, you can actually we'll drop a link in the chat to the Craft Fridays blog post, which has the materials for this session and our other 3 sessions as well. And Alyson, I know at the beginning too, you gave the disclaimer about cutting away from your hands. Nancy, thank you for that reminder in the chat as well. I know we do have people kind of jumping in throughout the session, and never a bad time to give a reminder on a safety disclaimer like that.
Yeah.
And let's see, I think we've gotten to all the questions that have come in so far. So everyone, if you have other questions for Alyson as she is working and as she is carving, go ahead and drop those into chat, and we will be sure to get those to her so she can get you some answers. I also loved hearing the fun stories from Nancy and from Leslie about how you used to warm your materials. So if you just have a fun story of block printing, please feel free to share that in the chat too. We love hearing those.
Okay, almost there. I'm just going to take out these circles here for negative space. And honestly, I mean, I mentioned perfection earlier, and honestly, like this is one of those crafts where it's like, it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, or it's not going to be perfect. It just is. And I love that handmade quality of it. Some of these, it's not going to be perfect circles or exactly what my vision was, but sometimes that's, it's a happy accidents like Bob Ross. So I'm definitely a follower of the Bob Ross style of teaching.
Alyson, can you let us know how deep you should be cutting? We had that question come in from Laura Lee.
So you're cutting basically, so there is like a little edge here, this little smooth part. You mainly want to keep that part, and then you just want to like delve deeply into your piece. What you don't want to do is go too far and like cut into this wood block, or in the case of anyone who has the Hessian backed like this stuff, you don't want to cut until you see this, because once you have holes in it, it's kind of weak, and it might not last for a while. So I usually give mine a test run before. I think even this out just a little bit. I give mine a test run because sometimes there's like this here might end up being an issue when like it might pick up some of the dye or ink, I should say.
And what about any tips for when you're cutting towards the edge of the block to not have it tear off more than you meant to cut out?
So wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, and Carrie, if you have more information, you can drop in chat too, but I think I know what you're talking about. Like when you're cutting towards the edge of the block, I think I've experienced this once or twice where like a bigger chip will come off of the edge of the block instead of just cutting out like what I'm expecting my chisel to take out.
Mhm.
Do you have any tips for that? Just accidentally tearing off like a bigger chip of the block than you expected when you get to that edge?
You
And
know,
maybe this is just hasn't happened and that's fine.
oh, it's happened.
You're like, I know now.
I mean, you can try to incorporate it into your design, or just kind of live with it. I know those aren't great options, but it isn't. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like it's kind of permanent. Like once
Yeah, I like
you can't like
embracing the not perfection of it.
yeah, you can't really tape it or glue it back.
Yeah. I do like this suggestion from Diana, which I don't think I've tried this myself, but she's wondering, could you maybe do a preemptive cut to the to end a channel? So I guess Diana, you're talking about maybe cutting part of that side off so you're not going directly off the block with your tool, you're going into a small section you've already cut. I think that's what you're explaining. And I know I sometimes just try and go really slow when I get to the edge. So it's not like a jerky motion when my chisel goes off of the edge. It's more, I try to make it more controlled, but that doesn't always doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I guess I try to go as much like when I'm cutting to not to kind of stay within this boundary as much as I can. Um, and I mean, yeah, like I definitely am very delicate when I'm around the edges of my block.
Yeah, it does. Watching you, it looks like you have come in from the edge instead of going out to the edge, which Carrie also brought up turning it around and going in from the edge, which I think we've been watching you do a lot of the time too. So maybe that's instinctively something that has helped.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably didn't realize I was doing it, but yeah, I think those are kind of the things that like you pick up after you've done it. Um, definitely after you've hurt yourself a lot of times, you will learn.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so I am going to use my ink pad. And also, you know what? Just a little, like give it a little bit of a shake so that you can like any excess linoleum can just kind of go away. and kind of brush your hand over it just to make sure, because sometimes there will be like a piece, like there's I don't know if you can see that, but there is a piece that is there and you go to print it and you're like, oh my gosh, it just like that piece showed up. So hopefully that's not going to happen right here. So when I learned this particular thing, it blew my mind. So I'm using, like with stamping, most people just go down and, start stamping. You have so much more control when you put the stamp this way and just start stamping the ink pad all over your block or stamp, however you want to refer to it. And you just want to cover it as much as you can. So kind of go overboard. And I'm just going to stamp here. And I am putting as much weight as I can on this to try to even out the amount. I also have this lovely, I can't remember the name of this. Does anybody know the name of this?
We'll find the name and drop it in chat if nobody in chat chimes in.
Because I'm like blanking on this. I'm like, no, it's not a brayer. But yeah, it's definitely used for evening out the pressure on your block. And so you're just going to press down on it, and that wide base should help you. So
it is a Baron. Thank you, Julie,
Baron,
Jane, Hilda, Heather.
I know. I was like, it's a B word. Okay. I was close. Thank you so much. And slowly have it up. And there we go. There is the butterfly. So did anybody do this along with me, or are you still working on your Thank you, Jesse. If people are still working on this piece, we can also go into some of the other things that you can use to block print. So does anybody else have questions about this?
We've got a few people saying that they are still carving. Some are just watching and taking notes and are looking forward to trying it. So we have a few people sort of in different stages of this process. Still quite a few carving. So all of you who are carving, if questions come up, please go ahead and drop them in chat. But Alyson, I think it's also fine for you to be showing some other techniques and things while they're carving.
Okay. So since I'm finished with my my little butterfly, I am going to just wipe this off with my baby wipe and get it as clean as I can. There are other things that you can use for cleaning. I think you can use the screen print cleanser. And just so you know, some dye is just going to stay there. That's some of that pigment will just stay forever on your stamp. Most likely it will not transfer. It'll just look like this for forever, but that's fine. So a nice clean stamp. ready for the next project.
Alyson, while you're getting ready for the next one, from Jane in the chat, do you have a tip for lining up multiple prints of the same block? So if you're printing a repeating pattern with a block, I guess.
Oh, that's a great question. So that's where your ruler comes in. So definitely use your ruler, make use of your ruler. If you just have one ruler, line it up with your page. Usually pages from, that you buy manufactured, not ones that you cut yourself, but ones that you buy manufactured are perfect. So you would line up the edges with your ruler. I am a huge fan of gridded rulers. These are, of course, from my fashion design days. And I use them for everything now. Because they just, it's just really helpful to know, like, what's an eighth, what's a fourth, all of that. So I would put the next one here, like, and just go along and line it up that way. That's the easy way. You can also line it up, this way. Does that answer the question? Does that answer the question?
I believe so. And if not, go ahead and ask more questions in the chat. Yeah, I believe so. Jane dropped in and said thank you.
You can also do it, like kind of like that, if you wanted to do a half drop kind of thing. So found objects is a lot of fun. Just to see what is around your house that you could possibly have. I think there's some more obvious things than other things. Like if you're like a really crafty person, or if you have children and you're crafty with them, a foam craft mat can be, you can easily just make this into a design. I'll do one really quickly. I'm just going to do a rectangle design, just for time's sake. But this foam material is really great. One thing though, I would still mount it. And I would also, I have my glue gun here, so I'm just gonna like just glue one piece to another piece. And the same thing, just go over your piece and with the ink pad. And this one, definitely you could tell that it's a lot more absorbent because it's just taking more ink. And the materials that you would want to find around the house, the absorbency works best. I found that some plastic things don't work as well as I thought they would. Um, but then, there's other things around the house that you can definitely use. So there you go. You can also use your baby wipes to kind of clean up around it. So that you don't get that edge around it. But that one's a lot of fun to do if you want to make your own, and you have some craft foam around your house and not linoleum. I've never carved it. I don't know if it carves well, to be honest. But there you go. So some other things, like sticking in the foam category, I have a block that I've been using. This is one of my daughter's foam blocks that she has, like, I don't know, like 150 of them. It feels like there's a million of them around my house. So I've used them, and they're amazing. I'm just gonna I think I have it. Okay. And I have my nice little perfect square. Okay, let's keep going. I have a cork that I've used. I'm pretty sure people have corks around their house. Oh, did not realize that. Out of my hand. Corks are great. Some people carve into the corks. I have not tried that yet, to be honest. But you can carve into cork. And since it's a natural material, it's very green to use. So and voila. And I like the texture that comes up, because you just never know. It's a very uneven texture with natural cork. There's also I have one. I don't know what this kind of cork is, but it is also from a wine bottle. But it works really well too. I've used that. I see somebody says natural sponges are superb. They are. They're amazing. And then something that's pretty unnatural is this like shipping foam that I've used, and it has a cool texture too. And it can be cut in different ways. So nice, cool texture. I'm sure a sponge, a kitchen sponge, can be used. This is an old bread spool. A nice, neat circle. I realized when I was going around my home finding things, I had a lot of circles. It could also just be that I just gravitate towards circles. um, I really love circles in my design. So let's see what's in your house. Here's another circle. This is actually the tape um, circle. Uh, so this made a nice double circle. Other thing that is not circular is the clothespin. I have this clothespin. You get the double line effect. Maybe like create a pattern with it. Something like that. And you can use both ends, like you can use the bottom, you can use the top.
Alyson, you're making me look at everything in my house differently as I'm trying to like scan around me and see what I'll be able to print with later.
Yeah.
It's very cool. We did have one question come in the chat from Diana. And Diana, I may ask you to add more information, but the question is, Alyson, what are your tips for controlling the ink from going extra places? And Diana, I'm not sure if you mean like when there's extra ink like around the shape of an object she's printed, or just getting ink like we were all saying we're messy crafters, like getting ink on your hands and things. Oh, I see. So she's talking about like using tools in Photoshop, it sounds like, to get rid of ink in extra places, or using gloves to prevent ink from going extra places.
Yeah, so Photoshop, I definitely like say like this pink is here. I would definitely use Photoshop to like clear that out. I would probably use I think it's the clone on on this white paper. There's actually a few different things I would do to get rid of anything extra in Photoshop. Gloves, I'm not really a huge fan of gloves while I'm working. But I would use the baby wipes a lot, actually, to clean up my hands and to clean up the edges um, of whatever stamp that I'm using. That's like a big part of it, is the cleanup. And it kind of feels a little obsessive because I've done it and like had it be really clean, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so not this person. But it does work really well. I know that there are other things that people use, like string. I've seen that used. It didn't really work out for me when I used like string or rubber band. It was just okay. I can try it here while everybody's but basically you wrap rubber band or string around your wood block, and as you can see, my wood block got a lot of the ink. Yeah, I guess it works. Yeah. So that's an option. Putting string or rubber bands. I realized I don't have a lot of rubber bands around my house. Not anymore. I don't know what happened. And also like fabric can work. I have these wool balls from my um, garland that I kind of tore apart and remade into other decor. And so like a wool ball will work really well. You can also use a cotton ball. So that's cool. Yeah, cool design. Any other ideas? Does anybody have any ideas like what they would use around their house? Jesse?
I was gonna say I can come on and hop in with some ideas. Well, I keep wondering, I loved the foam that you like where you made the uh solid rectangle before in red. And I was wondering if you like, for example, pressed the end of the like thread spool into that foam, could it make an indentation and then you could have like a reverse kind of stamp? Like, would it indent it almost as if you had carved it with the linoleum? So you'd be making like a reverse. So now I need to get myself some foam and try pressing shapes into it and seeing if that works. Um,
Cool idea. I like that. Let me try it.
yeah, let's do it. I'm directing your hands camera now. Let's we have some other great comments starting to come in as well. Trying different lids, potato, classic, eraser, vegetables. Oh, bubble wrap. Bubble
Oh,
wrap is a great
bubble wrap
one.
is a great one.
And these ideas are coming from, and pardon me if I get names wrong, Swanti, Ruchita, Hilda, Carol says pool noodles. Ooh, I bet that would be cool. Different sized circles and a cool texture.
Yeah, pool noodles would be great. I hadn't even thought about the pool noodle, and I have them.
Oh, see, there's always more. There's always more things you can go find and print with.
Oh, that's a great one. It turned out really well, Jesse.
We just doubled our possibilities. Now, not only are we finding things, but we're finding things and then stamping the reverse in foam.
It's kind of almost like a sun with a halo around it, or like an eclipse sun.
Yes. From Swanti, we also have oh, like foam shapes like letters. Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Keys. I wonder, you were talking about did you say like hard plastic things don't necessarily are always print well? I'm wondering what something like a key or something metal like that, what that would print like. Have you tried anything
Oh,
like that?
I have. I've tried um like nuts and bolts. That worked really well. Um, but it definitely isn't as absorbent. So like how I've been able to um like here I was able to make more than one, or even with the like the rectangle I was able to make more than one. um I couldn't do that with the bolt. like like as soon as you put that ink down, it's like all the ink is gone off of the metal piece, which is good. But it still works. I think the other big thing is having your whatever you're using be kind of flat as much as possible, unless you don't mind that there's a lot of texture to it. Um, so like the key, there might be some bumpy parts that um, will come out, and where other parts that you think will come out don't come out, like they don't show up when you go to print them. But that's kind of like one of the happy accidents, I think, too. It's just experimentation. Um, this is a wooden toy, like an antique wooden toy. And that turned out really well. Oh, I see someone says onions. Elizabeth, yeah, onions is a good one. Cabbage also. Food is definitely, because it's so porous, works really well.
As we're talking about all of these different materials, I'm remembering I was at a craft fair once and there was an artist who did all greeting card prints and they were all with like cross sections of wood. And so you saw like the circle wood grain and it was just an all over print, or like you would see half a circle of the wood grain. Um, and I'm trying to think, like, it must have been some very textured wood such that we were seeing the rings and the final prints, but it was very cool. And your wooden tool that you, or your toy that you printed, and you could see sort of some like wood grain or something in there, reminded me of it.
Yeah. And I use this one.
Amazing.
It's just like a little piece of cut wood from a craft store. And it was it's not entirely even. You can see that like when you're adding the ink to it. So it's kind of, this is definitely a trial and error thing. I'll put it here. Yeah.
Oh,
So
kind of cool that you see, I assume like whatever tool cut it created those strings
yeah,
that you're seeing layered on top of the actual like rings of the wood grain. That's kind of cool.
yeah, that uneven quality is really great. And then there's this, since someone said onions, I have this, it's not an onion bag, but it's similar netting that I found and I thought it would be really cool. So this kind of thing, I would lay it down, and I'm actually gonna change the sheet. And you know what? I'll change the color. So I was thinking for something like this, I would just put it straight on the, see how that works. It kind of left a little bit of a texture. Um, so that's something that's textured that pops up. Scrunching it up might work a little bit more. Do like a, yeah, it got a cool texture. So just like it's worth playing around with all of these.
We have a question from Julie. Is how heavy of a paper do you prefer? Is there a specific like pound or weight of paper that you like to print on?
This is just kind of like a multimedia paper. And I wouldn't say it's probably like it doesn't even say. um
But multimedia paper is what
Multimedia
you're
paper
using.
really well. I have some, I can show you some watercolor paper here. This one's kind of a lower weight watercolor paper. It does work really well with watercolor paper. Let me get I misplaced my butterfly. use my original example. So, obviously, like with watercolor paper and things like that, you have to think about the texture of the paper. It might show through, and that might be a good thing. It might be, it might not work. I mean, I think I just needed more pressure here on that side. But there is some sparkle of the paper, like the sparkle of the texture of the paper is coming through. Yeah, it's much better. But you can see that, that texture. I like that texture personally. And, a lot of it, how these come out also really matters on like how much pressure you're putting on them. And I think when I first started doing this, I didn't really get that because it just seemed like, oh, well, people are just kind of like just laying it down and, very easily just kind of like patting over it. And then like, I would do it and my print wouldn't work. And now I've realized like, oh, it takes a lot. Any other questions?
I just asked if there were any last questions in chat, and there haven't been yet. So I think this was such an interactive session. I'm so glad that you asked for so many questions and suggestions in chat. I think everyone had a lot of fun sharing their ideas and asking questions. I really appreciate it. It looks like everyone else did too. We have another minute, y'all, as I close us out and things. So if you have any questions, please drop them in chat. And let's see, I'm going to turn my camera back on, so I'm not just a voice behind the screen. And Alyson, if you want to, since it doesn't look like we have printing questions, if you want to switch to, and we have from Jillian, I'm too focused and getting very messy. Thank you. I think that's a nice
Love it.
comment. Yeah, that's exactly what we want with something like this. You're getting a lot of love and thanks in the chat. So thank you, Alyson, for being here and for sharing this knowledge with us. It was really fun to kind of see the possibilities and what we can all do with printing, even if we don't want to get those special tools. If we just want to print around with things around our house. That was really great to see.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed all of you and your questions. Thank you for sharing this time with me.
Awesome.
And I will be having online classes coming up in January and February. So
amazing. We can continue to learn from you. We'll drop let's drop your links in chat again. Alexa, if you don't mind grabbing Alyson's links again, let's drop those in chat so everyone can make sure that they are following you in all of the places. I also want to give everyone a reminder to, if you are carving and printing during the session, or if you try it out later, snap a photo of your project and share it to Instagram with the hashtag Spoonflower Craft Friday. And you can tag Spoonflower and Alyson at makeitwork_crafts. Alexa went ahead and shared that information in the chat already as well. We're also going to share a survey link in the chat right now. So if you're able to, please open up that survey and share your feedback with us so we can continue to create these types of webinars and workshops and events that you like to see. And there were also a few questions about recording in the chat. Now that this is our final Craft Friday session, we've wrapped up Craft Fridays for the season, we're going to go ahead and get those recordings ready, and you can find those on the Spoonflower blog and the Spoonflower YouTube channel soon. Alyson, thank you so much for this presentation today. And I also want to shout out Alexa in chat for really helping manage Craft Fridays in this different way this year. It's been really fun to watch it come together on this side, and it looks like everyone is having fun at these sessions too. So we appreciate you behind the scenes, Alexa, as well. Alyson, thanks again. Thank you, everyone in chat. And until next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.